Hi, welcome to Poems by Yas. This is episode 32, and my topic today is nurses. It's a very great video today because nurses are great because they help other people and it's a very reputable field. And I want to inspire other people. So after I share my poem called Nurses, I'm going to share an inspirational story about a nurse from Connecticut that was caring for a 4-year-old girl that was diagnosed with Oppositional Defiant Disorder, and she had some aggressive behaviors. But that nurse spent a lot of time with the patient because sometimes nurses are the frontline workers that do see the patients every day, and she showed kindness to this patient and they formed a special bond, and it helped this little girl feel better. And in later years they were still keeping in touch, but that child always remembers this nurse. So that's how much nurses can really make a difference. And then I'm going to tell you a story of Florence Nightingale. She was born in 1820 and she was one of the founders of modern day nursing. She was a statistician and she was one of the first people to use the pie chart, and she was great with numbers and she created a lot of change. In 1854, the Crimean War, there was so many soldiers that fell ill and there was so much infection and people were dying in the hospital. She was called to go there to help the situation, and she brought 38 nurses with her with supplies, and she enforced cleanliness, and she made sure that the patients got clean water, healthy, nutritious food, and she increased the sanitation and made sure those bandages were cleaned, and the death rate decreased significantly because of the health measures she brought to that facility. And she was known as the lady with the lamp, and she was recognized worldwide, and nursing wouldn't be what it is today without her. So that's why I want to share that story. And let's first start with my poem. Nurses won't turn away, even when patients' needs are met in every way. They try their best, sometimes run off their feet, to ensure your needs they strive to meet, many times going above and beyond to ensure we have that special bond. Nurses are here to listen to your concern, advocating for you through every turn. Caring for you is their primary aim. They are here to help you, don't feel ashamed. They ensure your environment is safe as can be, so let us help you, trust them and see. I'm going to share a real story today about a nurse that worked in a pediatric ward in Connecticut. And for the story, we're going to call the girl Pamela. She's a 4-year-old girl, and she was diagnosed with aggressive disorder. Her mother was in jail and her father was not in the picture. And her grandmother took her to the hospital because she was getting into so many fights at school and she wasn't getting along with other children. So she came into the hospital for assessment because she was lashing out and had some aggressive behavior. When the nurse saw this little girl, she said, what are you doing here? And the little girl responded, "What do you mean? I'm sure you know why I'm here." And the nurse was so surprised that she had such an adult response. And her body language was like an adult. She crossed her legs and she wasn't responding that well. She was not that open. But the nurse really took a liking to this girl, and she was on that ward for a long period of time. And slowly she would start talking to the girl every day, and she started to open up. But she wasn't like playing with her with toys or anything, but she gave her some rules. She's like, "Oh, you can watch TV at this time. There's no TV at this time." But she just remembered the big smile she had on her face one day when they were sharing stories and telling jokes, and that big laughter and big smile on her face made the nurse feel really good. And over time they formed a strong bond and connection because the nurse was the first-hand caregiver for this little girl. And they became close, and later the girl was discharged, and they kept in touch. And many years later she called to check on the girl and asked how she was doing. And the girl said, "I want to go back to the hospital because I miss you so much." And the nurse was so proud and so happy because she realized the difference that she made in this little girl's life, because She was very caring to the girl. She listened to what she had to say. She gave structure, and sometimes people don't have that in her life, and that made a difference. And it made changes in that little girl's life too, because her behavior started to also improve. So this is one inspirational story where I think nurses can help other people and make a big difference in their lives. Florence Nightingale was born May 12, 1820. She was born in Florence, Italy. She was vacationing there with her family, and her family named her Florence after the town she was born, but her family was from Britain. She was from a well-off family, and she was well educated. She was a statistician, and she was one of the first people to create the pie charts. And she felt that she had a calling from God to help the poor and the sick. At this time, nursing wasn't well known and it wasn't recognized as it is today. She is one of the founders of modern day nursing, and thanks to her and her practices, we have a great career of nurses, and we have so many nurses around the world today. And she focused on enforcing sanitation and policies and cleanliness. And she was most known for the war in 1854. The Crimean War, where many soldiers fell sick and the healthcare system was overwhelmed and they didn't have enough supplies. She had a friend, and he was Secretary of War, called her to help the situation. And she came with 38 other nurses and volunteers that were nurses, and they went there with their supplies. And what she did was she encouraged them to flush out the sewers, and she said they need clean water. So clean water, and they had to increase sanitation. So the dressings had to be changed very often, at least daily, and the sheets would be changed, and all the soldiers needed nutritious food. So she pushed very hard for these things, and the death rate decreased dramatically. The death rate of the soldiers was 40%, but after she came in and implemented the changes in the healthcare hospital, the death rate decreased to 2%, and that's how she became well known. She had a little lamp, and every night she would go and check on the soldiers with the lamp, and she became known as the lady with the lamp. And this is how she became a modern day nurse, because she created so many policies, and she wrote so many books and graphs she had. And she created so much change in nursing and made change related to sanitation and health that benefited everybody. Florence never got married, and her family wanted her to get married, but she felt that she had a mission to be a nurse and help the people that were sick and not doing well and create change. She was a social reformist and a statistician. So she used her pie charts and all the data that she had. She was able to make change and show where changes needed to be made to increase sanitation. And she was a good contribution to what nursing is today, because of her, she's one of the reasons that nursing is a well-recognized, reputable field. Her philosophy was nurses should use their brain, their heart, and their hands and create an environment to help a patient's mind, body, and soul. And sadly, she passed away in 1910, but we're grateful to her contributions to the healthcare system.